Hi, welcome to another Sinden Lightgun video. You may have seen my recent video about demonstrating Sinden Lightgun on the MiSTer FPGA console. So what the video is today is basically a guide of how you set it up. So it's pretty easy, it doesn't take that long, but I'm just going to talk you through the steps. And basically, like I said, it's all about getting this light gun working, the Sinden Lightgun on the MiSTer FPGA. The Sinden Lightgun is the world's only true light gun for modern televisions, in that it works with the light gun off the TV display. And basically, it's probably going to take us about half an hour to set this up, and it's a really awesome solution once it's done. Okay, so basically, I'm doing a video talking through this guide here, which is the MiSTer Sinden driver. There'll be a link in the description on GitHub, and basically it details everything that you need to do. But of course, doing it in a video is a lot easier. Sometimes you don't quite get across what you need to say in the text. So this is meant to go alongside it, will be especially helpful for anybody that gets stuck. Um, so first things first, we go to with your light gun. If you've ordered it recently, it'll probably come with version 1.9 firmware, which is what you need for the MiSTer support. But basically, if you go to Sinden Lightgun website, go to I clicked on the wrong one. Go to driver support, download the latest version of the Sinden Lightgun software, unpack that, go into the Windows version of that, and then run that. Um, the latest software automatically starts your light gun. So I've got the light gun connected here, so it is going to start. So basically it has connected there. So you stop that, go to firmware upgrade, make sure you select the light gun. You can do a get light gun information here to get the firmware version v1.9, so that's fine. And basically if you do update selected light gun firmware now, it will then update to 1.9 if you don't have 1.9. Remember to leave your light gun flat. You don't want it that you accidentally pull on the USB cable while it's updating the light gun. That's not good. It should finish updating. When you've done that, because it will reset and come back in, it might have a different COM port. So if you just refresh that, select it again, select light gun, and what you need to do is you need to enable joystick device. So you click that. Joystick device enabled. Please disconnect USB and reconnect for joystick device to appear. So we click OK there, and it tells you how to utilize that if you're using Windows. So don't worry about that last message. So we close that down. So that means the light gun's ready. So we can unplug that, and then we can put that in the MiSTer. Right, so you connect your SD card reader with a fresh SD card. At the moment with this guide, because it's a new, slightly complicated thing to start with that I'm showing, the idea is how to build it from scratch. Actually working out how everyone can update their own images, etc., is something that's a bit more technical. So for this guide, this is about on a fresh SD card, and that way everybody knows a starting point where they can at least get it working and testing it. All right, so when we follow the guide, if we go in here, it will tell us that we need to get MiSTer Fusion version 2.7, which is here. So I'll do that, and then basically you can download this image, .image. You then load up your favorite imaging software, SD card imaging software. I mentioned the other one. I usually use Win32. I think in here I mentioned the other one that's quite popular, Balena. So Balena Etcher. That's quite a popular one. I use Win32. So let's close that. So disk imager, do that. Wherever you downloaded it to. Mine is here. So MiSTer Fusion. So you click that and write. Make sure you got it on the right drive. Don't overwrite your hard disk. I should say anything that you do in this video, that is down to your own risk. Okay, so that's fine. So it's pretty quick because it's only small. So we've got that now. can eject it. So I'm now going to boot the MiSTer. So I should say what I have for my MiSTer, I have a MiSTer multi-system. So the main MiSTer board from Jurassic, that's how you pronounce it, is this blue thing here. This is such a cool board that goes in, and it gives me the USB hub, so it can connect multiple USB devices. It gives all the ports at the back along here. It gives the memory expansion that's needed. Basically, it's kind of everything that you need in it. You can get this shell for it as well. Let's put that back on. And this is the SD card slot here, so I'm going to put that in. It's not hard to do. It's hard to do this at the same time as the video. There we go. All right. Switch it on. So you get this screen. MiSTer Fusion is installing. It really does only take a couple of minutes, so I'll stop the video and resume when that is done. Right, so that's finished now. So just to mention then, I've got connected to the MiSTer, I've got a Sinden Lightgun, I've got a generic keyboard, I've got Ethernet connected through my Google Hub here. You can use wireless, but that's not part of this guide, so you have to figure that out. And I've got a generic Nintendo Switch controller. I find these work really, really well for the MiSTer, Raspberry Pi, things like that. Okay, so first things first, what we want to do is we want to update everything. So we go down to scripts, click that. It just gives us a warning there. We say, yeah, don't show that again. And then we want to do the update script. Just like before, this one actually takes around 10 minutes. So we'll just leave it to do its thing. It's pretty clear when it's finished because it will go back to the MiSTer main menu. Okay, that's all finished now. If you go down to console, you can see all the cores are installed. If you hit back and basically hit left, this is the key thing we're looking for. We're looking for the IP address there. You see, 192.168.86.26 is mine. We're going to use that on the computer. Right, I've loaded up a free application called Putty. This gives us a remote console to the MiSTer. I'm sure there's loads of different bits of software, but this is the one I particularly like. So I'm going to do 192.168.86.26 and connect. It's giving me a warning there. Right. Login as, right, it is root and 1. I guess it's connected. You can have a look around. So what we do now is on the Sinden Lightgun MiSTer driver page. If we go back here, we have the setup MiSTer Fusion script. So wrong one. Sorry, install MiSTer Fusion script. And this information, that's what we want to run to start with. This is going to download the driver from GitHub. So this is the only thing that we need. So you can actually copy just this script and you can upload it over FTP and you can run it, or you can use your keyboard and you can exit to the console F9 and then you can manually type this in. I just like to run it over the console, so that's how I like to do it. So I'm going to run that here. I hit right click there, it pasted it in and it runs it all. I think the archive is about 27 meg. And then it's going to automatically run the update script. So we'll just let this finish. Like I say, I think it's about 27 meg. Yes, so I did have to hit enter there. I got a bit confused there. So the way I pasted it in, it didn't run the last line, because in that script each of them has a new line, which meant it ran it, and then when it gets to the last line you need to hit enter, which is set up MiSTer Fusion to run the last script. So that's done. Recommend a reboot here. Luckily the MiSTer's really quick at rebooting, so let's load that up again. Right, may have changed its IP address. So let's just look. Yes, it did. It's gone to 27. That's very helpful. Thank you. Yeah. 192.168.26.27. Back in. Go. So, what we need to do now, we want to put some ROMs on there. So if we go into your favorite FTP software, I mean, you need to use this to upload your games. There's going to be loads of guides for that. I like using FileZilla. So you need to put the IP address in here. 27 root and 1 and 22 here. Quick connect. We are in. So we want to go back. Everything is around the /media fat directory. So we'll go there. Now we've got games. So we've got 4 cores supported by the Sinden Lightgun at the moment. So there's NES, Super NES, Genesis, and PSX PlayStation 1. So I'm going to go add some ROMs into each of these. So we've got the NES there. So we're going to add in all my favorites. Obviously these don't take much time to load in. Go backwards. Let's do the Genesis. So up to Genesis. We're going to put in just, let's go Lethal Enforcers 1, 2, and Terminator 2. Now the Super Nintendo. Can upload all of these. And the PSX. I'm just going to put Time Crisis on, but you need to remember the BIOS. So you've got to add a PlayStation BIOS. And I'm going to leave that running. Okay, it's still installing those ROMs in the background, but that's fine. So using the gamepad, go back to here, and click here on the scripts. And this is what we have for the Sinden Lightgun. We have Lightgun Start Default, so this is one I recommend for your main testing. Low resource, this is in the circumstances when there's a core that needs a bit more of the ARM CPU, and maybe the default driver is causing a little bit of an issue. So a good example of that is PlayStation games with a load of cutscenes that load the video. So Point Blank is usually one that will give us an example where it's loading that and actually the low resource works better. Again, if you're using 2-player, it's probably best to use low resource, and then max resource is just where there's just no restrictions, so it just tries to use as much as the core as it can. So that's probably not recommended, but it still works fine if you're doing the NES or something and it doesn't really need anything from the ARM core, then you can max it out. So let's go. I'm going to show you the difference between low resource and default. So I'm going to start the driver, hit OK on that. So what's quite handy is at the top corner it just details about the light gun, says it's found the light gun, what camera it is, and then once it's run all of that you just push a button and it comes back here. So now the Sinden Lightgun is working. So let's put that down and I will get my Sinden Lightgun. So a quick guide to this. The pump action is loads up the menu. We've got the D-pad to navigate. I think the front right is menu select and the back right is menu backwards. So those are the ones that we need. So we are going to go into console. Obviously I'm trying to film at the same time as this. Go down to NES. So what you'll see here for each of the 4 cores I mentioned, NES, Super NES, Genesis and PSX, PS1, there is a normal core and then there is the Sinden core which has the border on. Okay, so we're going to select NES Sinden. Now this is important to remember. The way the MiSTer works is the first gamepad that you use when you load it up, it loads that up as joypad 1. So that's why I think it's better to use a Sinden Lightgun to load the cores, because then you don't accidentally use the gamepad and then it thinks the gamepad is the default light gun and then it all gets a bit complex. So remember, when you load the core, the first thing that you need to do is just move or something with the Sinden joypad, and therefore it knows that is player 1. And everything with all the scripts, I've set it up to be player 1 when you go into there. Okay, so let's go into Duck Hunt. Swap hands here. Almost dropped it. Right, so as a default, when you run all the scripts, have it so that it shows the crosshair, because I think it's important to be able to see the crosshair when you first start doing this stuff, okay? But always, you know, once you sort it out, get rid of the crosshair, because it always, you know, you're waiting for the screen to refresh to show the crosshair, you start looking at the crosshair and moving it, and it's a bit like almost using a mouse. So at the moment, you can see the, well, you may or may not be able to see it, the little red crosshair. So what it does is, you can see that it doesn't move with the light gun. So because this is the low resource mode, it only moves when you shoot the light gun, basically. See that? So it's moved that cursor. So this is how come it does low processing and only uses 4% of the core, because it doesn't really do anything. And then when there's a duck, shoot the duck, and then it's moved. If you hold the trigger, you can see it moves across the screen. So if you're playing a game like Terminator 2 on the Genesis, where you need to move it around, you just need to hold the trigger where you do that. So you can still use low resource for all things. Okay, so if I go back to the menu, I'm going to do this on the light gun. If you go down to input options, you can disable the crosshairs. There it is. So you do menu OK on that, off. You can then save that as well. So I'd recommend saving it. I think it's the best way to play. And then pump action, get rid of it. And then we're back in. Now if I shoot, see there's no crosshair on the screen. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, again, try and do this from the gun. It's a little bit awkward while I'm filming. But if we go down to here and we go to the right, we go back to reboot. This takes us back to the main menu. So what we're going to do, we go down to scripts, or up to scripts. We stop the light gun driver, and then we can start the other one, and we go to default. And we will load up NES again. I've switched the crosshair back on. So you can see we've got a crosshair now. It continually moves when you move the light gun round. Okay, here we go. So one other thing to show you, almost forgot, is if we go change the core, go to PSX. So there's a couple of cores where you might find this useful. Is you might have to change the light gun type when consoles have multiple light guns. So PlayStation had the GonCon and the Justifier. So if we scroll in there, we've got the Justifier. We then go up and select a Justifier game. In this case, whoops, it's very hard to do this one-handed. Oh, I haven't got a Justifier game on. But anyway, if I had Die Hard Trilogy installed as an example, then basically the Justifier would just work like that. Obviously, if you use Justifier games all the time, you can save that as your default. But I've got it as GunCon because you know, most of the best games are GunCon with Justifier as an additional couple. Right. So one other thing I wanted to show you quickly, if you're used to using the Sinden Lightgun in Windows. And even on the Linux versions, is you can change all of the settings to do with the camera. You know, so if your room's particularly bright, you've got some sunlight, you can lower the exposure of the camera, lower the brightness, or increase the contrast. And basically, if you go into the Lightgun folder, so that's /media/fat/lightgun, you do nano lightgun mono.exe.config. You get all of your normal settings. The ones really to consider changing are exposure, brightness, and contrast. So exposure, if you leave it blank, it does what the default is, what it thinks is the best default for that camera that's in the Sinden Lightgun. Some typical settings would be 19, 39, and 79, and that sort of gives a range of things to do. And it does mention on the side here kind of what some of the settings are. So you can see, you know, blank equals default, 19 very low, 39 low, 79 default. So you can change that setting, camera brightness. So for instance, if your TV is a bit dark, you might a bit dim, you might want to make that 120. If it's that the room's very bright, your TV's bright as well, you can lower that to 80 to get rid of some of the background noise, and normally camera contrast to just increase that a bit as well. So if I put the brightness to 120, I'd put the contrast to 60. If I lowered the brightness, then maybe I'd lower the contrast 10 as well. And these are all the settings. These are in the Sinden documentation and explains there as well. So you just do Control O to save it and hit Enter, and then Control X, restart the Lightgun driver, and then it will actually have those settings changed. So that's it from this video. Obviously following the written guide, I'll improve the guide if I get any feedback on that. Hopefully we can get some more cores with Sinden Lightgun support. As mentioned in the other video, if we could get the Saturn support, that would be awesome. I will be working on the driver, some improvements with the driver, hopefully long term can make it a bit easier to embed it in MiSTer. As I said at the start, with this video, it is showing it from scratch with a fresh SD card. You should be able to edit your existing MiSTer system to add it in as well. But obviously this way is just one guide that suits everybody, and then we can work out ways that you can add it to your current system. So good luck, and please give me any feedback of how you get on. Thank you.